Stephen Cortinez has been said to be the worst thing to happen to humanity since clinical depression. Do you agree or disagree? The Illegal is about a Mexican OCD psychopath vigilante, pretty much trying to clean up, his town, his city. And he has a really cool sidekick to help him with all that. When The Illegal was first announced on social media, before it was even released, the author faced a lot of backlash from the Mexican community. They really came after the author, even though he's Latino. He even got death threats. What would you say to those that are judging a book by its cover?
I mean, in general, I think that's not supposed to be allowed anymore, right?
I would say, literally read into it or listen to the audiobook. I mean, the book humorously sheds light on that very serious situation. You know what I mean? I think they would find that a lot of the points they're making with their mean tweets and such are actually being made in the book. Similar to, if you ever seen Tropic Thunder, a lot of people found it offensive, like a throwback to the blackface, but really he was trying to, the script was bringing light to that situation through that sort of, in-your-face comedy. So I'm hoping people get the same vibe.
Free speech. We have free speech in this country. So, of course, you're going to have a few bad eggs that, are going to just get up on their soapbox and say whatever they want. They may have not even read the whole story. They may have only gotten up to a certain point and said, what the heck is this about? But I honestly think they didn't give it a chance. Maybe, they came in and just, The Illegal, maybe the title threw them off.
Read the book and then, all right, let me hear what you have to say about it. Then tell me what the problem is. But if you haven't read it, you shouldn't be able to say something to somebody that is just not,
And it will affect them because other people won't read it.
Exactly.
They'll just read that review and make a horrible decision based upon it.
Everyone thought it was going to be something to just make fun of, or mock. But ultimately, I think he did a great job. I think he definitely has a nice, strong fan base now. I think people are trying to see what he's trying to do. And ultimately, just because you don't speak the language doesn't mean you're not part of the culture.
You do a very menacing yet very deadpan voice when playing The Illegal, aka Matthew Matantes. How did you come up with that voice?
I was informed that you stood up to the breakers. Intentional or not, you started a revolution.
And then it's just what came out. I kind of based him off of Batman a little bit. Just an older Batman, a little tired, worn down.
How much did it mean to you as a Latino to not only voice a superhero, but also a character who's so essential to the giant universe?
When I'm asked not to do your stereotypical gangster, I love it. I'll take it any time of the week. Because in Hollywood, I do get asked to do your typecast. I mean, it happens. I've put it upon myself to not let it happen. I'll take on a lot of different characters. But the fact that he wanted me to be this character, it was definitely a privilege. I had fun with it.
Yo, the grappling line. We never went over this shit, and I never pay attention when Batman does it in the movies.
Press your middle and ring fingers to your palm, like Spider-Man.
In the Weird Al Yankovic story, you play a hitman hired to kill Weird Al. In your scene with Daniel Radcliffe, you use your illegal voice. Was that on purpose?
I actually thought I didn't, but he says I did. I think the characters are almost alike. Technically, I'm a mercenary, I'm a killer. Madonna comes in and tells me, she wants Weird Al dead, and the voice just kind of came out. I didn't do it on purpose. I wasn't thinking The Illegal at that moment. It is what it is. They were both fun. Anytime I can get on stage and, shoot Daniel Radcliffe, hey, I'll take it. It was cool.
You replaced Stephen as the original narrator of The Illegal. He described his narration as a symphony of shit.
See, he knows.
He said it sounded like someone hitting a cat with a baby. He said, forcing people to listen to his voice for 4 hours was a crime against humanity. Was this the first time you replaced an actor that fired himself? I believe so. Yes, this is the first time, and I was very nervous about it because, doing it, I was like, well, I mean, I hope that I'm doing better, because if I'm already being the one replacing, it's like double.
The unmasked illegal was the most Mexican-looking Mexican in the history of Mexicans. He walked his Mexican ass forward in a bathrobe and slippers, a towel drying his bald Mexican head with his left hand,
while his other held a Rubik's Cube. He was tall for a Mexican, and his bulk was enough to rival Ray Lewis or Brian Urlacher in their primes.
and he was ugly. Like Danny Trejo having suffered third-degree burns ugly.
And he was ugly, like Danny Trejo having suffered third-degree burns ugly.
So that was pretty intense, but I did love having, like, going from, like, reading all in English and then just switching it up in Spanish.
Yes.
Love doing that.
He
That's
really
always,
needed
yeah.
you. I have to say.
Yeah, especially with,
He
like, the
needed you.
maracas and the sombrero, and la
It needed
cucaracha,
that.
So
I
it
love
was
the head roll you gave.
Yeah.
Legacy City. It was like a rotting limb that needed to be chopped off. I'm not even kidding. The stench of all that decay was getting worse by the minute.
the direction that Stephen would give me made me feel so comfortable, so confident to be able to, like, do it all over. And, like, I would tell him, like, how much do you want me to, like, say the words in Spanish, or do you want me to? And he was like, go for it. So I, even by the first page where I'm just naming the characters, or even saying his name.
Written and directed by Steven Cortines.
It was like, you can't
Loved
even
it.
say, you can't even say your last name. That's ridiculous.
You play Detective Barton, a very depressed and alcoholic cop in a corrupt city. Compared to a lot of other characters, Barton was one of the few sane people.
Me and Carlos got drunk on graduation night, and he talked about how blacks had it tough, but so do Latinos. He also griped about how there aren't any Latin superheroes. He was like, y'all niggas got Blade, and Black Panther, and the Falcon, and Storm and shit, but what the hell we got?
Did it make it easier or harder for you to record all of your lines solo?
No, it was a little different at first, but knowing that I was working with a group of people that were, more than capable, and I've worked with some people in the past, I knew that, they had the skill to do everything on their own.
Detective, have you been in contact with the illegal at any point?
No.
How did you feel when you found out all of those crooked cops got their early retirement?
I wasn't happy, if that's what you're wondering.
Then you're committed to help bring him down?
I'm committed to being an honest cop. I got no loyalty to you, lady, and I ain't afraid of you.
And Katie, you voiced the heroic Ivy Virtue as a grown-up. You also voiced her supervillain daughter, Kelly Carter. What are the differences in playing someone so noble and then someone who's a monster?
What the illegal did was bad enough, but if you're here to tear our city apart looking for him...
Then you couldn't possibly stop me. I'm a contractor for Sapphire, not you. I'll find the taco head my way and he'll die my way. But thanks for the drink. Always nice to meet real gentlemen.
My mom was worried about me as a kid. I've always loved the villains. I think what's so great is she's unexpected. You never know what's going to come out of her mouth, what she's going to do, physically or verbally.
A little notice would have been respectful.
But it wouldn't have been as much fun. Now tell your men to take their hands off their weapons or I'll kill every one of them, and then I'll find out where their families live and kill them just for giggles and shits.
A little bird told me that Stephen forced you to develop a fiendish laugh for Kelly. Would you mind?
Let's go.
Okay. All right. So, like, I'm all for, like, the villainous laugh. It's like, and he's like, no, that's not enough. So he gave me some inspiration. He actually showed me Sideshow Bob because I wasn't a huge Simpsons fan. I've seen little bits here and there. So that really helped me to hone in on what exactly he was going for. So it's kind of more of like a slow build, and then there's the climax, and then it kind of like tails out. So it's like... kind of like that.
I like that. The next question was, what's more fun to play, a hero or a villain? But I think you had a lot of fun.
I think I kind of answered that.
I think I answered that one.
I love the villains.
Aishiba, in The Illegal, you voice Isis Barker, who was named after your real life sister.
Oh.
What was her reaction to that, and what was it like voicing her?
She was excited. She's my sister, so from blood, I can always imitate her no matter what.
So where the fuck were you at lunch?
Huh?
Lunch, nigga. I had told everybody we were hitting the set together, and then your ass disappeared. So where were you?
Okay, fine. I needed some alone time.
Don't get smart, punk. I ain't in the mood. Were you with her or not?
She loves the series, by the way, so good job, Steven. She feels like you definitely gave credit to who she is, except, you know, she should win all fights. We'll just talk about that later.
A lot of your best scenes in The Illegal are between you and the character Devon Davis. He was voiced by comedian Chase Duruso, but you guys recorded separately. What was it like having all the things he improvised when matched up to all your scenes when you played it straight?
I'm not a hero, bruh. I just got tired of seeing fools not standing up for themselves. Kind of like how that dude did on Fight Club. Remember, he got all these nerdy white niggas that wasn't doing shit, and he got them all together, and they started a little club, and next thing you know, they beating each other's asses, but they're toughening up because they needed to do some man shit because their dads didn't beat them like normal people.
I know the feeling. Shall we move on?
Well, I think at first it was difficult because I feel like there was a lot of back and forth banter, and I had no one to do it with. And then I think once that's where Steven comes in, he did a great job, told me what he needed, how he wanted it. And then at that point, I think I got comfortable and then just delivered it a couple different ways.
Gross. But I still can't get past your name, bruh.
Then I suggest you try.
But it's so stupid. I mean, come on, dog. What are fools supposed to say? There's the illegal, faster than a Speedy Gonzalez, more powerful than a spicy burrito. He can leap tall border walls in a single bound. You see what I'm saying? Black Panther never went around calling himself the African-American booty scratcher.
I should hope not. And I hate to shatter your illusions, but those fictional black superheroes were created by white men.
Bullshit, bruh.
Afraid not, son. Stan Lee created Black Panther, and Marv Wolfman created Blade.
The story very clearly parodies the lack of Latino and even Black representation in the superhero genre. Do you think The Illegal could turn things around someday, even though it's a dark comedy?
I do, and I'm a fan of dark comedies. And I don't see a problem with having more representation across the board, as long as it's not forced. If it just comes natural, especially if it's something original.
And I guess I'm spacing on the name of the movie, but I definitely saw a movie where the character's mask was taken off and whoever was opposite him in the scene was like, oh, I thought she would have been black. Like, just a little disappointed because he was a hero.
Oh,
he was like, it seems like, you know, you could have been black.
Not many Hispanic superheroes. We have a couple black, you know what I mean? But I think it just covers a nice spectrum. I don't know, hopefully it does open up some universe where, you know, I can become.
We could have ID'd Mickey's corpse in the morgue. Why call us down unless he wanted us to see something his badges couldn't?
Even if he's suspected, you might show up to use that little town of yours. You still don't have to get cute. Nobody likes a show-off, Ivy Samantha. Especially grown men who get paid to be detectives.
He's right, baby. This situation's rough enough without arrogance making it worse.
Private Ivy is one badass teenager
who's extremely ambitious and fearless.
An overachiever of a very young detective.
Her father is an ex-cop. Her mother, I believe, is the first Puerto Rican woman to be a successful private detective. So, unfortunately, after her mother receives a devastating terminal cancer diagnosis, her father becomes an alcoholic, which then forces Ivy to throw herself into like a series of what I would think of strange and just dangerous cases that just push her to the absolute brink, emotionally and physically. So by the end of the story, she becomes, you know, something of a legend. But I won't say how that legend comes about. I would like audiences to find that out for themselves.
It's a wonderful throwback to all of the Dick Tracy and, you know, those classic detective type stories. What I love about Private Ivy from Steven's storytelling is it really is accessible to a younger audience, and still I enjoyed it.
You play the main character's detective father, Bernie Virtue. Tell us about him.
Before Swift could even finish the sentence, Dad was in his face.
Hey, asshole. Badge and no badge, you talk to my kid like that again, one of us is going to the morgue.
Swift started to glance towards Jacoby.
What are you looking at him for, tough guy? Huh? He kind of reminds me of somebody that I could have even easily grew up with. You know, I'm from the East Coast, I'm from New York. Bernie Virtue has got that kind of East Coast swagger, and so I kind of brought in a little bit of like influence from my dad, you know.
Being a real life mother and daughter, what was it like playing mother-daughter in Private Ivy?
It was awesome. It was great. It was Esther's real first, leading role, and I was honored to be able to share that experience with her.
Mom was so slagged she had to lean against the comedy club's brick wall to catch her breath.
It's fine, Mom. You got nothing to be ashamed of.
No, but you do.
What?
Get your head out of your ass, little girl. While you're fussing over me, you forgot to mark that limo over your shoulder.
It's different than our story as mother and daughter, obviously, but there were certain lines where I was like, I've had conversations like this with you. I know that there's, been times where it's been harder, so we've had to have more of a serious conversation, or maybe I was rebelling a little bit and we had to have that conversation. So the lines were not right out of our real life, but similar enough to where I felt like it was natural to just say them.
Different guns hold different kinds of bullets. I'm seeing a lot of these. 7.92 by 57mm Belgian Mauser cartridges, like the kind they use in the Fabrique Nationale F&M 1930 BAR light machine gun. The 1930 series was updated 2 years later with a quick change barrel and the simpler receiver. It was chambered for this cartridge.
Tell us about the dynamic between Ivy and Captain Jacoby.
Hello?
Sir, it's Ivy Virtue. Don't hang up.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Little girl, how did you get this number?
It doesn't matter.
Actually, it kinda does.
I know who the packs are.
What?
The pack mules.
Huh?
The wolf pack. The jewelry store robbers.
Ivy, I can't believe I'm asking this, but have you been drinking?
I ain't legally obligated to answer that.
Is tense at times because, she often takes matters into her own hands, and her overconfidence sometimes gets the best of her, I believe. But Captain Jacoby, at the end of the day, is just a good guy, very kind, very patient, a good father figure, someone that I like to, think that I embody as well. Being a father myself, I felt it was easy for me to relate to this character and sort of bring that relationship that I have with my daughter to the forefront.
You also voiced Don Aldo Savino. Despite being the most powerful mob boss in New York, you voice him so calm. Tell us about his dynamic with Ivy.
We ain't the only detective agency in town.
But the Virtue Investigations is the best. My people have already failed me.
And the badge is on your payroll?
Repeat, my people have already failed me. It seems like to me she gets under his skin, and probably one of the few people who can get under his skin. Because most of the time he's like holding it together. It's like because there's nobody he fears. But then she kind of comes in and he doesn't realize like how smart she is.
The Don lifted the picture for a second and then slapped it right back down.
So, Private Ivy, what do
The man
you
was
do?
walking a cat instead of a dog, even though the sign said no pets allowed. His coattail was breezing right, even though the trees, leaves, and bushes were slinging left. The man was wearing an overcoat, gloves, and a scarf, even though everyone else was draped in summer. He was also wearing the Star of David around his neck. The calendar on the bulletin board said it was Saturday. That means he wouldn't be out walking anything, let alone a cat.
Tell us about Chance, aka the ventriloquist.
Well. Private Ivy herself. Somebody released the doves. I'm about to faint over here. Wait, that's the booze.
He's a darkly humorous anti-hero with a rough upbringing, which I found interesting. So it's like he's a comedian, and he uses that comedy as sort of like a shield for the horrors of the world.
My oh my, if these ain't the horniest little Richies I ever saw in my life. Look at this guy. Hey buddy, you know the drinking age is 18, not 8, right?
And I love that his puppet is actually the straight man. You know what I mean? Horror story, supernatural story involving a man and a puppet. It's usually the puppet is his wild side.
Wow, get a load of the role model. A tank Nancy Shrew. Where's the camera when you need one?
I ain't off my ass yet.
Oh yeah? So you're drunk on your, your feet?
Sure, we can go with that.
Great. Love the Scarface outfit, by the way. Very classy.
Ventriloquism is... I know they mean this to be funny, but it is terrifying. That puppet is so scary looking and so creepy.
Ivy Virtue is based on the daughter of Stephen's best friend, Valerie Rogers. You've never met her. You were 14 when you recorded the lines. Steven says you embody all of Ivy and Favor's qualities, humble, talented, and wise beyond your years. What was going through your mind knowing you were portraying a real person?
I felt a little pressure. I didn't want to portray this character incorrect. I knew that if I stayed true to myself and I stayed true to Ivy, that it was going to come out in the end. And I'm glad that he thinks that I did a good job to do that, because, I mean, listening back was very different for me because I didn't see myself.
There's plenty of detective stories out there. Dick Tracy, Sherlock Holmes, Nancy Drew, and recently Enola Holmes. What separates Ivy from the pack?
So I think that's kind of the big thing, Ivy adult versus child, is like she holds herself to a really high expectation.
She catches you off guard because, you know, I mean, she's got that kind of typical teenager rebellion going on.
First of all, she's interracial, which is a big thing, you know, and it ties into the plot.
But she brings so much like life experience. You know, her dad's an alcoholic, her mom's, you know, fighting cancer. So she was and then she's fighting crime, and she's fighting the worst crime bosses in the time period.
Plus, she deals with the supernatural. I'm not sure how much of that is going on in those other stories, but yeah, she's dealing with vampires and that sort of thing, and interdimensional changes.
I mean, Ivy was a little impulsive, you know, she really knew what she wanted to do and that she wanted to fix things and uncover them, but, you know, danger comes along with that.
Katie, Private Ivy won the Audiobook Reviewer's Choice Award for 2022. Your narration was specifically praised. How much did that mean to you?
I mean, how can I even put it into words? It's just absolutely honored, because it really makes you feel like, okay, I am, you know, supposed to be here. I am supposed to be doing this. Like, people are seeing, it's not just me like hoping and wishing and dreaming. It's being actualized and realized and validated by people I don't know.
Your peers, yeah.
Because, I mean, I know you guys know taking on the role of a narrator is just like kind
Daunting.
of really
Yes.
scary, daunting, and it's just
Definitely.
like it feels like, can I do this? You know, there's a lot of self-doubt where you're like, I don't know if I can deliver.
This swag was part of a much bigger picture, especially the guns. There was one section of Browning high-power FN GP35 single-action, another with semi-automatic pistols, another with M1 Thompson submachine guns, and finally, Bren light machine guns. Those 3 GATs have been in circulation for a lot of gangland killings these last few years, and business was good, boys and girls. Real friggin' good.
Now then, killing shall be your profession, dear children. You were specifically engineered for it. But killing without control makes you nothing less than animals, and I do not train animals. Do I make myself clear?
The Shadow War. So fast forward 30 years from Private Ivy, and we're in the Shadow War world. Takes place in 1969.
The darker side of the world of Stephen Cortina's and almost the antithesis of Private Ivy's, as they say, virtue and innocence.
A group of genetically enhanced teens is leashed upon an already like an unhinged world.
And one of them, we kind of focus on one named Erin Escalante, and she's kind of like a step above all of them skill-wise. But we watch them kind of go through different like pivotal moments through our history.
So these kids, they're referred to as shadows, begin violently, reshaping the political landscape from Vietnam to the civil rights struggle.
You kind of watch them struggle with like mission versus what I feel is right.
But I think it's just an emotional roller coaster of characters developing, attempting to save themselves as well as parts of the world.
Tell us about Erin Escalante.
Rule number 1. Don't piss her off.
Ooh, Erin. I loved playing Erin because she's just like a little firecracker. She does not give one.
Hijos de puta, ¿por qué están haciendo eso? Pinches mexicanos hijos de mierda. Okay, asshole, you got the balls to show me who I'm fighting?
She wears it, right? Like there's nothing that she hides. And I guess I can't say, but one of my favorite scenes. Yeah, it's like I don't know what to say, but like because she is such a fierce girl. She doesn't like showing emotion until one of the scenes where she does, and I think that was by far like my favorite, because it's just seeing how she is still like she's a little girl, like she's been through a lot, and yeah, she's an assassin, but she does have the humanity in her that, you know, she expressed, and I think that was one of my favorite scenes.
I never got your name.
Aaron.
You don't have to be what you are, Aaron.
Maybe. But your dad was gonna send someone to get you anyway. Probably someone with a lot less mercy than me.
That won't save your soul.
Whoever said I had one.
Don't lie to me. You could have killed a lot more people than you did, including those doctors and those policemen.
Professionals don't kill people they don't have to.
It's well established that Erin is the anti-hero. Not a villain, not a hero. Even though she's a teenager, she always muddles the line between good and evil. What is it like to play a main character so complex?
It was tough. Like it was, I mean, depending obviously on the scene and like being able to read with the other actors, especially like with the group and stuff. So it's easy to feed off of that and see how they're replying or like how they're reading what they're doing on their own characters. And it helped me with mine, because it's also kind of like it amps you to do better, you know, because it's like, oh my God, everybody's so talented, everybody's so good. So you have to like constantly like try your hardest.
And you voice Toby Mathis,
I do.
a 13-year-old boy.
I do.
Steven says that every black male actor on his roster sounded too grown up, so he hired you. Was this the first time you went outside of your gender to play a role?
Yes.
Sir, in case you hadn't noticed, there's a lot of fucking targets.
Are you really making excuses? Is that really what's happening here? Because Escalante would not even need guns. What do you think of that, boy?
I swear, if he calls me boy one more time.
Matthias!
Yes, sir.
Yes, actually I've always wanted to do voiceover. But my voice is very, in my opinion, it's really low and it's too textured and it's just really raspy. And so when he called me initially, I was like, does he remember what my voice sounds like? Like who can I voice? Like, what is that? And then we got to like work together and really go through the script and like hound out like, what he heard when he wrote Toby Mathis.
Okay, I need 2 ice picks. The bullet's still in him. Shadow healing might not work if the toxins from the bullet keep infecting his system.
You're right, it won't. I've been shot enough times to know that.
Tracking. Jordan and Kevin guard the door. Aaron, go wash your hands. I need them sterilized. Rachel, hold your brother still.
He's gonna be okay, right?
He will if you do what I say.
And you play heroes in one and cold-blooded killers in another. Even though it's in the same universe, what were the differences in playing those roles?
Can I say this word? I was a bitch, and which is really funny because, I mean, I had to take my teen angst and put it into her, which was a little bit of a therapy session.
You want to know where I just got back from?
Not really.
Brooklyn.
I don't care.
Want to know who I killed?
I don't care.
The fucking mafia. One family wanted another family completely taken out, and they sent me. And I did it all with these. You ever kill with a blade? You ever hear the sound of skin and arteries tearing open? Oh baby, there's nothing like it.
Because they're also teenagers too, so there's a lot of hormones going on.
Exactly.
So, you know, some of them, you know, they're developing crushes for each other, but yet at the same time, they want to like slice each other's heads off. It's weird. It's like, okay.
And who do you play?
I play Barbara Stevens.
Okay, I'll bite. What's the problem?
Oh, gee whiz. I don't know. Maybe the fact that my classmates are going to cool places like Rome or Paris or New York, but you're sending me to shit-ass Vietnam? I thought you people rated me high.
We do, sweetie. That's why we're sending you to a hotspot.
Steven says that you don't curse in real life. That's why he was adamant about you playing a character that doesn't curse. Did that make it easier for you to play someone a lot more soft-spoken than everyone else?
So he has not been with me driving when I'm on the freeway in traffic, obviously.
You may as well tell those putas right now I'm not doing the next job if they're just gonna send me back to that.
Hey, relax, sunshine. You're off punishment.
I am?
Yes, but a word of advice. If innocent people get in your way on this next one, go ahead and kill them. Nobility is not worth the headache.
Hey Sheba, Steven says he rewrote the entire narrative script to fit your voice.
You want me to be red-faced?
I love it.
Every shocked eye makes his way to Papa, whose grin lets everyone know just how proud he is of his son. Matthew is grateful for that pride. It's enough to make him forget the spiteful, gold-digging, hoe-ass mama downstairs. He did. I've known Stephen for a very, very, very long time, and when he asked me to do it, of course I said yes, but once I confirmed, he literally did rewrite the entire script for me, and I was a bad actor. I didn't look at it until I got in the booth.
But it was written for you.
It was, and I was reading it as if it was my story, and I planned on telling him it the whole time anyway. And I don't curse in my normal speech, but I was cussing, carrying on, having a good time. And sometimes I was like, "Oh, I think this one need to be switched, Stephen." And it worked out really, really, really well. And I think that was something that just worked. And then you mentioned how he guides you. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a direction that really helps because I have the narrative script. Mm-hmm. It doesn't tell me what's happening in the scene. I don't know. Mm-hmm. So I have to trust when he's telling me to raise my voice to raise it. I have to trust when he's telling me I need to have an attitude. It's time to have an attitude. And I need to trust when it's time to tone it down. We're going to bring it in. He then handed the baby to a mother that had forgotten how to be confident. The awkwardness was scourging her limbs like some fast-acting poison, and in looking into the eyes of her own flesh and blood and seeing that innocence, the only thing that mattered was this perfect little girl.
The late 1930s versus late 1960s, in and of itself, help keep the stories distinct from one another, even though they are ultimately part of the same universe. You know, that alone dictated so much in terms of how the characters spoke, how they behaved, and how they needed to navigate the world around them.
Because I look back at these creative cover arts and I'm like, they're so beautiful.
Well, it was a good collaboration. It was a lot of fun working with Nick and also the process working with Stephen back and forth. Mainly Photoshop for this particular case. And we added a filter to it to kind of give it that, I guess, dark look rather than just the cartoony comic book look. And so that was a good collaboration between Stephen and I and what he wanted. So I kind of took his vision, and for book covers it really actually worked to bring that together.
The music.
Yeah.
The music was incredible.
This process basically is like scoring a film, just without the moving picture, but every other aspect of creation was exactly the same, following the storyline and actors and their emotional intensity. And
the old adage, you can't, you can watch a horror movie with the sound off and it's not scary, and the same kind of thing with these. And it's not that it's a horror in that way, but an action, suspense, mystery,
the anticipation. It builds.
It completely elevated the genre of audiobook.
Is that you playing every instrument?
Yeah, that's me recording one by one. Drums, guitar, whatever there was, trumpet, bass, piano, layers of strings.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very impressive. How many instruments do you play?
Well, currently 8.
And I don't even play one. And there's a very emotional moment in the story. It's been building up to it, but when it happens, you for real started crying in the recording booth.
Of course.
What was going on through your mind in the moment as you were reading that very sad part, and how do you look back at it now?
My old lady was on her way out, while these two had years ahead of them. Instead of the bitterness I would have felt just an hour or two earlier, I found myself endowed with a strong sense of peace. Instead of thinking about the mother I was about to lose, I just thought about the years we had enjoyed together. I thought about all the smiles and all the things she taught me. I thought about how lucky I was. How blessed. Now all I had to do was say goodbye.
And he just really knows how to cut straight to the heart sometimes, as fun as he is with his expletives and the violence and the adventure and the chaos and the craziness of this kind of comic book world he's created. He has these moments where, man, it's just the way he wrote it was very realistic. And I just couldn't help but feel what he was trying to express through the words on the page.
With some directors, it's kind of like they don't know what they want,
right?
So it's all on you.
Mm-hmm.
And with Stephen, it's I'm open to
Sure.
you know, suggestions.
Correct.
I'm open to seeing what you have to bring to the
Very
table, but
open.
also here are
So-
my adjustments.
Right. And it's those adjustments, I think, as actors. I'm an actor that loves to be adjusted. Tell me.
Yes.
And then I love to be like
Yeah.
praised when I adjust correctly. They're like, that's what I wanted. Thank you for telling me.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they don't tell you and you
Yeah.
don't know and you never fix it and it doesn't work. So Steven
Right.
is really great at that.
Yeah, because sometimes you can walk out of a job and like a project that you did, and you're like, I don't know how I feel about
know.
it.
Yeah.
and
I know.
with Steven, at least you know
You know.
walk out knowing like
You
I gave
delivered.
it my all.
Yeah.
Stephen also wants to say, Aishiba, he feels bad about constantly having you say War World.
Ever since this let the rest of Bravo team see what was happening in World War.
Officially apologizes for that. But could you say War World for us?
Yeah.
Let's let the rest of Bravo team see what was happening in World. Damn it. I got it. Right away. I'm gonna say it 5 times until I get it. And just safety. Filling the ground and the skies was an army from World. Filling the ground, I did it. Shut up.
No, because he said he wrote it for me. If he wrote it for me, I probably would have said like the World of Wars or something. See, I couldn't even do it just now. No, I can't do it. I'm sorry. War. I can't do it. I don't know.
How many takes did it take you?
Oh my God.
While World's fence, I wasn't going to be able to say it twice in one passage. Okay. They have been ordered in from World. Shut up, Steven.
I will tell that.
question.
Thank you for being patient with me because I messed that up so much. World.
Yes.
But I'm not allowed to do that and read a whole script at the same time.
It's gotta be, especially with the beat.
It's gotta flow
Yeah.
with the story, and it just didn't. So hopefully the next time we do this, that doesn't happen. Sorry.
What about for you, Drea? Do you like playing the hero or the anti-hero?
I'm gonna have to say the anti-hero. Like I said, like being a 12-year-old who's already an alcoholic, loves cigarettes, like how badass is that, you know?
Right?
You know, it's I really enjoyed it, and like the cussing and like, I mean, if I were to compare myself to this 12-year-old when I was 12, like, oh my God, night and day.
Right.
It's insane.
Aishiba, Steven says with your Philadelphia accent, nobody says, I mean, come on, the way you do.
These gotta be the words of a raving, dying man. I mean, come on.
You think you could be a catchphrase someday with that?
Oh God, no.
Oh, I thought you were going to respond, I mean, come on.
Yeah, he would try to bait me into that. Try again with the next interview. Okay?
Compared to the competition, what makes the Legacy audiobook special?
I would have to say the overall production.
It's its own little world.
I don't think there is competition. What Steven did is very unique, and
Even my friend, she told me that she felt as if she was in it and she was like a character in the book, and she, you know, was in the scene and she could feel the emotion of everyone. And
The music, the sound effects and everything. This brings you into it more and more, apart from just being one person reading the book to you, which is nothing wrong with that, don't get me wrong. But if it's something that has a lot of action, multiple characters, it's just more engaging, I think, in my eyes.
Like I can put on an audiobook to go to sleep, right? Because you're gonna hear the same person and the same kind of monotones, you know, in a way like that.
Altering your voice slightly for each character. This is actually a different actor for every part, pretty much. If he recycles actors, they're character actors and they're doing drastically different voices.
And there was times where I was like, Steven, I feel like I'm yelling, yo, like, are we good? And he'd be like, no, because you have to remember, there's bombs going off in the background, there's gunshots, and then I've got the music behind it. You need to, and I was like, okay, you say so. Okay, and so then you just jump back into it.
It feels weird.
It does, it does. Like, I think all of us probably had a point where we were like, dude, this does not feel right. But then,
Yes, until you
Because it's
tell-
kind of
yeah.
like, when you're on set and you don't have all the elements, you know, you're like playing
Like, this
pretend,
looks
and it
weird.
feels weird, it looks weird, you're like, is this really believable? But then when it comes to the finished product, it's like, oh my God.
Steven delves into some dark stuff that is going on in the real world. Like, not just like the ninja swords and chopping people's heads off, but like child trafficking, you know?
Exactly.
And it's heart-wrenching to think that, you know, and obviously, you know, he did his research, you know, because you're just like, you know, in Private Ivy, you know, there's a scene where she goes in and she's going to the auction block where they're like auctioning off little kids. And it's like, where did that come from? That's happening in real life somewhere.
Exactly. The amount of actors that he had is just beautiful. Because again, how we were kind of saying what sets this apart from other audiobooks, I feel like
She put audiobooks.
I think we're just all diverse. We all come from different backgrounds. We all know the struggle in Hollywood. You know, we're all coming up, we're all giving it our all. And I think it's just going to be more of an experience than most.
Some series have done it, and this one is definitely doing it. Like, you can be you, and you can achieve this goal without having to fit in this particular ethnic category.
Like, there's so many times where, like, I'll be done finishing a book that he wrote, and I'm just like, how do you, like, you had to sit here and think of all of this. Like, you know,
it's like, not in my wheelhouse. I would not be able to do it.
You know, like, or just thinking about, like, the different, like, monsters that he creates.
Yeah. Steven's pretty hardcore, though. Like, I'm like, dude, you sure you want me to say it like this? Because I'm like, this seems pretty critical. Just deadpan it.
I know.
And then I'm like, okay,
that,
we're
though.
you have to love it because it just goes into what he started.
Yeah.
He's not going to compromise.
Room or whatever, and comes up with these most terrifying creatures. Like, yeah.
Well, we all know that there's a lot wrong with Steven.
We do know this. We do, but we accept him as he is.
We accept him. We love him. We love you, Steven.
The world can never be ready for what's coming. I think if audiences are anticipating that all these characters may intertwine someday, they have no idea just how crazy and complex this situation will play out.
Okay, when we go to the theater and we see these people showing up as these characters, that's gonna be exciting because that's what people do now. They dress up in their favorite characters and whatnot. When you see that, un mexicano en un pancho, vamos a la cine, pues! Like, come on, let's go! Like, yes.
I'm pulling. I want to play my character. I don't want to be janitor 5. UPS mechanic.
Well, I'm sure
2.
Steven will let you audition.
Yeah, something. Yeah, see,
So I could totally see it. If it could be made into a live action, I think it needs a huge special effects department. You know, just a team of, you know, martial artists that are all around that are like teaching the actors, and the actors got to go through some intense training and become these assassins.
Everyone knows Superman's origin story. We've seen it 1,000 times. I'll watch it 1,000 times again. But this is new. It's fresh. You know what I mean? So it will take a little time for people to get caught on. But I think, like, once people, like, you know, pick their favorite character.
What's great about Steven is he combines so many different genres into the same, you know, world. So he's breaking a lot of the norms and what, you know, would be traditional storytelling.
And I love, like, also, like, those kind of, like, the deep dive into the dorkisms of it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Fan theories of what's going to happen next and, you know, all that sort of thing. That's always fun.
Oh, conspiracy theorists are going to be like, oh, yeah, absolutely. The vampires from outer space are the ones who shot JFK.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of conspiracies built off of these books.
Yeah. Or like a lot of conspiracy theorists would be like, he just debunked that. Why didn't I do that? You know?
Right.
Like, oh, great, he did it before me. That makes sense.
It is here. The world is happening. It's ready or not.
You forgot to add that you have to be in it.
I have to be in it. Absolutely.
He has to be in it.
I'm saying that to the camera. I'm saying that to Steven. I have to be in it.
Steven, it's a requirement. This year, GQ's final candidates for Sexiest Man Alive are Jason Momoa, Michael B. Jordan, and Steven Cortinas.
I'm sorry. Continue.
Who has your vote?